Hi, I'm Danny and these are my Diecast Disasters. In this video I'm going to be restoring and customizing a Matchbox Audi Quattro. These were produced from 1982 until 1989. I think this is a 1989 model. I know these are quite a popular car, so I'm sure some of you have owned one at one point in time. I've owned an A6 before and that was a great car. I've never owned a Quattro though. I believe these were a pretty popular rally car back in the day. So let's take a closer look at this one off of the turntable. It's very play-worn, most of the paint is missing, the windscreen's a bit scuffed, the wheels are fairly worn out. It's all pretty much there though. I think the windscreen is probably also yellowed a little bit. I don't really think it's bad enough that I'm going to bother to try and whiten it though. The first step is to take the car apart. There's only one rivet holding this one together and a tab at the back, so I drill the rivet out and the rest of it comes apart pretty easy. A nice coat of paint stripper later and the paint is all dripping off. I wash the remains off with some water. Now it's ready to be cleaned up with a wire brush on my rotary tool. There was quite a noticeable pit in the bonnet, so I'm going to fill that with a little bit of Tamiya putty. Once it had cured, I just sanded it down. I also gave some of the other surfaces a light sanding, and I cleaned up around some of the window frames and elsewhere with my file. It was given a coat of white primer. And then I painted it a nice red. Here are some little decals that I've made for it. Onto the base now. It's in pretty good condition. It just needs a new paint job, and I'm going to replace the wheels. I pop them out from under the suspension plate, and then I use some paint stripper to remove all the paint from it and give it a clean up with the wire brush on my rotary tool. And here it is after paint stripping and burnishing. I painted gunmetal, and then I use some silver weathering powder to bring out the highlights before I give it a coat of semi-gloss varnish. There was nothing much wrong with the interior. It was a little bit grubby, so I gave it a quick wash in some soapy water, and then I gave it a coat of white primer. It was then detailed in black and brown, and I finished it with a semi-gloss varnish. The windscreen is pretty good as well. It's a little bit scuffed. It's a bit delicate, so I have to be careful with it. I'm going to remove the scuffed windscreens with some sandpaper, and then I'll just give it a polish. After a fair bit of polishing, it still wasn't looking super clear, so I dipped it in some self-shining floor polish and left it to set. Here are all the parts of our Audi Quattro, refurbished, repainted and ready to go back together. I'm just going to replace the old wheels with some wheels off of a new Matchbox car. Before we take a look at the reassembled car, let's take a moment to look back and be reminded of what we started with. Our scruffy looking little Audi Quattro. Looks like it's seen a lot of playtime. A minor diecast disaster, but a great candidate for a cleanup and a custom. And here it is, our finished customized Matchbox Audi Quattro. With a nice new red paint job, some tidy new decals and some nice new wheels, I think it's looking much better. I'm not a huge fan of straight red cars in general, but I really think it looks great on this particular Audi. I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. I think maybe the license plates could be a little bit tidier, but they were really fiddly to do. Other than that, I think it's looking a lot tidier. Also, when I looked at the finished car, I noticed that there is probably a little bit of a twist in the body. I didn't really notice this while I was restoring it, but it stands out now that it's been tidied up a bit. With all that being said, I'd really love to own this car in real life. It looks really cool in red, and I think it'd be awesome fun to drive. I'll just say a quick welcome now to all of my new subscribers, and a big thanks to everyone for the great comments and likes on my videos, and a super special thanks to my awesome Patreon supporters. Check out my Patreon link in the description below if you'd like to help support the channel. Now let's take our little Audi for a drive through the mountains and take some photos.